Wait, remember the magic school bus? Well, if you went to school in the late 90s and early 2000s, you definitely have, and even more so, you may have been lucky enough to experience the TV cart being rolled into the classroom and then be presented with an episode of the show. A lot of these same feelings can be felt for other programs shown in school to help teach with stuff like Bill Nye the Science Guy or Reading Rainbow, both of which we have discussed here on the channel in their own videos, so today, it's only right to continue on our edutainment trip down memory lane, and what better way to do that than with Miss Frizzle as we hop on the magic school bus. Imagine, if you will, that there was a way that you can experience what you are learning at school in a more hands-on and exciting way than just reading out of a textbook or Googling something online. You wake up, go to school, everything's normal, but your unconventional and eccentric teacher takes you and your classmates on a surprise field trip within, yep, you guessed it, a magical school bus that has the ability to basically do anything to fit the narrative or adventure going on. And then a bunch of weird stuff might happen to you personally. I mean, you try asking your parents to sign endless permission slips to go on dangerous adventures in an omnipotent school bus. The magic school bus is this collective shared memory of a form of escapism while still being able to learn and retain different subjects or lessons. Have you ever had a daydream while feeling a bit bored or distracted in class? Well, the magic school bus is kind of like how that would feel. What I mean by that is everyone learns differently in major or slight variations, and daydreaming, for example, while some teachers will see it as you not paying attention or caring, is something that had always helped me learn and understand things better than someone just saying things I don't yet know and me writing it down. I've talked about this somewhat before in another video when talking about Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, but being able to combine your imagination with the different things you're learning can result in a better understanding of it. Not so much because you need to have an imagination that transforms the world around you so that you can go on ridiculous field trips in a cartoon bus, but the concept of seeing things in a different way and being able to build that connection from your brain to what you are learning through your own means. It's like hands-on learning in a way. I am personally going to learn a lot more about something if I am directly a part of understanding it versus just being told this is what it is because it is that way. Basically, that's how I see the magic school bus, a way to visualize a more hands-on and imaginative style of learning.
Magic School Bus will be right back. Magic School Bus is back.
Now, when it comes to the Magic School Bus as a piece of edutainment, it didn't start off as the show that the majority of people remember fondly. It actually started off as a series of books going by the same name, and was ultimately created conceptually by Scholastic. Well, more specifically, the vice president and senior editorial director for Scholastic, Craig Walker. He is responsible for kickstarting the whole thing. In an interview back in 2006 with the website Publishers Weekly, Craig gave a bit of insight into how the concept of the Magic School Bus came to be. In the 1980s, during the great era for picture book sales, we kept getting requests from teachers who were interested in seeing more books in the science category. So we had the breakthrough idea of putting curriculum science inside a story. I remembered as a child loving to go on field trips, so I thought about doing books about kids going on field trips to places they really couldn't, through a water system, to the bottom of the ocean, inside the earth. And I remembered an eccentric second grade teacher in my school who everyone thought was the best. So that is where Miss Frizzle came from. Craig, however, was the initial spark for the whole process as he had his own roles to fill within Scholastic. So he would then bring in two others to work on this new project. First, there is Joanna Cole, an author who wrote in the territory of science as well as humor and could help formulate exactly what this project could become. And second, there was Bruce Deegan, an illustrator with a long list of work that stood out perfect for what this idea could be. Craig pulled these two together, and it all went smoothly, bringing them both on board as they agreed to be a part of the project, and from there, worked extremely well together, with Craig noting back in the same interview that they got on so well from the start and respected each other enormously. Continuing on to say, Bruce was very interested in the science aspect and Joanna is very art-oriented, so they clicked and were able to add to each other's ideas. To me, that is 70% of the series' success. So they all got to work in the mid-1980s putting all of their ideas and personal experiences together, ultimately finishing and publishing the first book in 1986 titled The Magic School Bus at the Waterworks. You are in first person here as the reader, reading about the experience of having Miss Frizzle, a teacher who is described as weird right away, teaching the class. They even call her the Frizz, branding her as this indescribable entity. She has a lizard as a class pet, dresses different, and has her students work on weird science assignments that are boring them, being jealous of other classes getting to go on exciting field trips rather than in Miss Frizzle's class, where all of the students get to go to the waterwork facility to see see how the city gets their water and write about fun water facts. Truly exciting stuff here, I know. Things start getting weird for all of the students though pretty fast, as Miss Frizzle ends up being the bus driver for the field trip, and beyond that, the bus itself is kind of alive. It starts changing the way it looks, and now all of the students are wearing scuba diving equipment. Then the bus starts getting lifted into the air and eventually lands upon a cloud as the students get out and begin playing on top of it before the lesson really begins. The way the book illustrates this fantastical setup is through the use of actual science. It's not about the bus and the students now doing something impossible. It's all a way to explain how water, well, works. You see explanations through the visuals of how water is technically in the air, while also getting more and more facts about water to emphasize the lesson. Plus you get to see the personalities of the characters as well, getting these add-on speech bubbles that can build a connection for the reader to care about the characters on top of learning everything. When you think about it, it truly sounds like a lot to juggle, but in execution, Craig, Joanna, and Bruce were able to craft something beautiful here. The visuals bring you into this world, showcasing both these crazy unrealistic situations, but also these near diagram-like setups that explain the science behind something in an easy to follow and to understand way. The first-person perspective makes you feel like you are a part of the class, as it molds the way you first see something like learning as being boring or a drag, and how bringing in this imaginative side really starts opening up how fun learning can be. Doing all of this while not sacrificing the actual learning part. You can see that on each page you have new information about the topic, some new facts to learn, some new process to then see happen, and it's all simplified enough and explained well enough for a young reader to retain. For example, with the first book still, Miss Frizzle magically has them all become drops of water, falling down from the clouds above, and then through the complex systems of how water is cleaned up and then dispersed throughout their city. It all ends with the class getting back to school and working on an assignment to make a chart that basically explains all that they had just experienced, and when one student named Arnold drew a picture of a student inside of a drop of water, like they all just were, Miss Frizzle asks him, "Where do you get these crazy ideas, Arnold?" Ending the book with a bit of whimsy and a lot of gaslighting. Like, all of the students collectively remember what just happened. The other student who saw all of the kids come back from the size of a drop of water to their regular size was clearly freaked out. The bus is literally flying past the window, and Miss Frizzle is still wearing her new octopus-themed dress. Jokes aside, I love how the book treats the reader. It doesn't try to outright shove information into your brain. It instead allows the information to flow out naturally through the fun narrative presented, helping you understand what it's trying to teach you without it feeling like its job was to teach you something. That way of learning through entertainment purposes is my personal favorite way of learning. I've mentioned it in other videos, but it's true. I would learn a lot more from a Bill Nye, a LeVar Burton, or a Miss Frizzle thanks to the mixture of education and entertainment, giving us edutainment, a way to learn and explore these educational curiosities without feeling like you're just being taught something. I think it's great, and like I said, it helped me throughout different periods of my life in school. By making sure that what they were making was both fun to read and that the science being put on display and being explained was correct, the Magic School Bus would start going on to be a big hit with the age demographic that it was aiming for, and even more so, a huge hit with teachers, as thanks to the teachers who supported it, they were the main vessels who would introduce the series to kids most times. I mean, this is all coming from Scholastic after all. That name was known by parents, teachers, and especially students alike. I feel like most people around my age all remember the Scholastic book fairs that would happen, and now I will get into the wider world of what the Magic School Bus produced in general later on in this video. So in the meantime, let's fast forward a bit as more books in the series come out every year or every other year, bringing us all the way up to 1994, where it was time to take all that makes the Magic School Bus, and turn it into animation. After 10 years of working at Scholastic Productions as the VP of New Business Development, Deborah Forte was able to find fulfillment in her career caring about bringing book franchises to television in meaningful ways. And one of the most important moments of her career would then happen. Okay, that's a bit dramatic. I am sure there are many other parts to her career that she would consider more important, but regardless, it's the early 90s and the Magic School Bus property was going to be a great launchpad to help re-engage interest in science for kids in a fun way. The book series did that once, so can lightning strike twice and do the same thing in a different medium? Well, a deal was struck. Scholastic ended up receiving a grant from the National Science Foundation, and the Magic School Bus was sold to PBS. On top of this, they made sure to attach some name recognition to the project that helped all of this, casting Lily Tomlin in the main role of Miss Frizzle. A lot of the story and more is available to read from a 2005 article on Next TV talking about and with Deborah, and it's definitely worth the read if you are interested in learning about this, and so much more from Deborah's career, at least up until that point. I know she's done a lot since then. I just find a lot of stuff like this very interesting. So now we have arrived at the animated version of the Magic School Bus, and the show gets you on board right away with a super catchy theme song in which you probably still know the lyrics to and was sung by Little Richard. For the next few years, from 1994 to 1997, the Magic School Bus ran for 4 seasons with 52 episodes. Now, obviously, when it comes to the amount of books made at the time, heck, even now with all of them in total that have released, there are more episodes made than books. So new stories that followed the same flow of what made the books work would be implemented to make the show last longer than 1 season. There are some differences in the show when comparing it to the books, but what you get in the show is basically the same setup. You have a class full of students who are all taught by Miss Frizzle, and from there, the magic of the show does its thing and you get the same vibe from the books here in the show. It just now gets to flesh out more, giving the bus itself more character, giving the class pet Lizard, or Liz, a comedic fun animal personality, and giving the kids a chance to really become a group of characters that you can connect with more.
Scholastics, the Magic School Bus will be right back. Scholastics, the Magic School Bus is back.
There are 8 students that take part in all of the wild adventures here. Arnold, Carlos, Dorothy, Keisha, Phoebe, Ralphie, Tim, and Wanda. Thanks to all their distinct personalities, the show does a great job at making you feel like these are the kids you went to school with. You can connect with the feeling of knowing which one is the class clown, who is the academic focused one, who here is the more timid one, the list goes on. But I love how each of the students are represented here. This was a diverse group of kids who would all continuously find this love of science through Miss Frizzle's spontaneous and reality-defying field trips. The goal of the show was to get any kid's attention to get them to have a fun time while genuinely learning something new, and I'd say it worked. I feel like my personal experiences and how I remember the show, or how other people who grew up in the back half of the 90s and early 2000s remember the show, is a testament to how effective it was and how it stuck in our brains. Each episode of the show would focus on a specific topic, like the solar system, germs, the weather, volcanoes, microbes, erosion, gravity, etc. The list goes on. But the show does something unique, and we can see that from the first episode. So let's take a look at how an average episode of the show would play out. First, we see all the students just working on their solar system diorama, as they have a special class visitor here to see just how great their class is. Her name is Janet, and she's Arnold's cousin. She's super smart, but in the I'm better than you type of way, and Arnold apparently has told her about these really out of this world type of field trips his class gets to go on, leading to what becomes an odd thing for the show in general. It seems like these field trips and the Magic School Bus itself are all a secret from anyone else for the most part. The rest of the students are worried that Arnold was telling his cousin about this, and as we see in this episode, and beyond this throughout the series, these kids will go to great lengths to not let the greater world know about this. While Janet does come along here to witness all of the magic, you'll see what happens with how the show pushes this secret narrative from the first episode. But right off the bat, Miss Frizzle takes these kids on a field trip, and this, in a comedic way, ultimately leads them to go on a full space odyssey. The bus completely transforms into a rocket ship, putting everyone inside in spacesuits as it blasts off. We get to learn about the planets as we visit them, get into some trouble in an asteroid field that nearly makes them lost in space, and Miss Frizzle gets detached from the ship at one point and just drifts away and acts like it's all going to be fine. So far, this is a wild first episode of the series, but it's how we start getting to the ending that really cements it as something pretty crazy. Janet is completely obsessed with bringing home all of these space souvenirs to have proof of all of this happening. And hey, I get that, but going along with the whole agenda thing of keeping things a secret, she is worried about others believing her, as Arnold says that himself and the others here will know, and that should be enough. And in fact, he goes so far to stop her from not wanting to go back home if she can't bring back proof that he takes his helmet off and literally freezes to death. Okay, not completely to death. Janet realizes what is more important, gets his frozen body back on board the bus as they all head back to Earth, and and Arnold is merely only affected with a cold from it all. At least Janet has a change in attitude, comes off a lot nicer in her tone, and had such a good time experiencing it all herself that it doesn't matter to her about others believing anymore. That's the episode. That's the structure for most episodes, minus having a character like Janet there all the time. But the whole secrecy thing is a fun rabbit hole to follow throughout the series in general. There are so many little things that can add up into these conspiracies that are just fun to put together. A couple years ago, a YouTuber named Alex Bale made a really fun video digging into the conspiracies of this, pointing out the instances of this happening throughout the show, and so much more. It's a really fun video that I think is perfect for the Halloween season to relax and watch, as the way it's presented has a very fun and unsettling vibe to it. It's a great video, make sure to check it out. Aside from all of that, and I guess something that I can relate back to that in a way, is the special ending segments for the episodes. At the end, we get to meet a couple of other characters named the Producers, who essentially act as a hotline for some fictional viewer of the Magic School Bus, who calls out things from the show like something not being scientifically accurate enough, and then getting it explained back to them about liberties being taken for the sake of entertainment. So in a way, it serves as an asterisk at the end to cover up things they had to overlook in the show itself. Then it also makes it feel all meta. The Magic School Bus is some show within a cartoon world that is supposed to be the real world, but it's all a show itself because these characters aren't the real producers of the show, and this is really just them adding in some more facts while in a fictional space. It's weird, it's fun, and it adds to the whole mystery of conspiracies and oddities that you can find within the show. The series performed greatly on PBS, ending its run as one of the highest rated shows for the network, as it then continued to have a solid second life through reruns across other networks, like being on Fox Kids, TLC, and Discovery Kids. This helped keep the magic of the show alive for other generations up into the early 2010s to be able to watch and experience, and aside from that, it had also been kept alive thanks to teachers playing episodes of the series in class, much like teachers did with the original books when they first came out. On the Homefront side of things, it wasn't uncommon for a kid to have some of the books. It's from Scholastic after all, but it was also easy to sell parents on picking up a VHS or a DVD release of the cartoon because they could trust the educational value of the program. Aside from the original books and the original cartoon, the Magic School Bus ended up producing more ways to experience these magical adventures. There were full-on chapter books rather than just the original picture books, special TV tie-in kits that can help you be more hands-on, a few PC games, a Nintendo DS game that, funny enough, released in 2011. There was also a series of books that Joanna and Bruce created titled Miss Frizzle's Adventures that has her traveling through time with a watch to teach social studies instead of science. And Scholastic, along with the American Meteorological Society and the Children's Museum of Houston, even built a special exhibit that was also funded by the National Science Foundation called The Magic School Bus Kicks Up a Storm, where you could partake in scientific activities all set to the theme of the show.
Magic School Bus will be right back. Magic School Bus is back.
But that's not where the legacy of the Magic School Bus ends, as in 2014, it was announced that Netflix, along with Scholastic, were bringing back the series in a brand new way. Originally going to be titled The Magic School Bus 360 Degrees, the show was set to have a semi-sequel reboot feeling, bringing in a bit of the old and introducing a bunch of the new. 3 years later, in 2017, the series would officially premiere and go by the new title of The Magic School Bus Rides Again. Here, we follow Miss Frizzle taking her students on wacky field trips to learn about specific subjects, but it's not the same Miss Frizzle. This is her younger sister Fiona, as the original Miss Frizzle is now known as Professor Frizzle, and is retired from being a teacher, but she is in the series and is still voiced by Lily Tomlin. The new Miss Frizzle is voiced by Kate McKinnon, and I think that's a pretty good fit. This new series had a different art style, it had new adventures, and it ended up lasting for 2 seasons with 26 episodes, as well as having 4 specials released a couple years later that were a bit longer than the average episode. Early on, the reception of the show was pretty mixed thanks to fans who grew up with the original being worried about what this would turn into, but it did receive pretty good feedback from reviewers and those who oversee children's media to rate if it actually is a good thing for a kid to watch. So that is nice to hear that overall this new series still captured the magic of the original, at least somewhat. I personally haven't seen it, so I can't speak to that, but if you have, then please feel free to let me know in the comments your thoughts on it. But as far as the original series, and for that matter the property in general, I genuinely genuinely love how the Magic School Bus all came together, stemming from personal viewpoints of these highlighted school life moments of the people who came up with the idea for this property. The concept of turning a fun thing that would happen every so often, like a field trip, and combining it with the imaginative way of learning, it's just fun. I think something more important here is that a really good teacher, who they are as a person, how they taught lessons, why they care so much, can be the difference of how well you are able to learn and grow more understandings of basically anything throughout the rest of your life. I know I can think back to about a handful of teachers from all of my years in school that had all left an impact on me that I am thankful for. So I do think it's really cool that Miss Frizzle is based on a real person who did make a difference in many students' lives. I like how the series portrays the terminology of weird or being weird, as it's shown as this mysterious and scary thing at first, but then it can be understood as just meaning different, and is shown as a good thing. A lot of people only see the word weird as this negative thing when that's not always the case. Like when I make a video and call something weird in the title, I don't mean weird in a bad way, I mean it as interesting or different or anything along those lines, as I love when something is weird like that. It makes me want to explore it more, find out more, and ultimately understand more. The Magic School Bus is one of those properties that just sticks with you if you grew up with it. It meant a lot to me growing up, and rewatching it, it is easy to see why it had such a long-lasting effect. It respects the fact that you are a kid. It doesn't talk down to you, whether you're reading the books or watching the cartoon. It brings you on this adventure where science is fun to explore and broken down in an inviting way, rather than being spoon-fed into your brain through textbooks. It helped bridge a gap between teachers and students through both the books and the cartoon for students to pick up an interest in science, especially during a time where the interest in stuff like that among students was declining. I am thankful for programs and properties like this, Bill Nye the Science Guy, and Reading Rainbow, as they all helped me at a formative age to take up more interest in what I am learning while still being entertained thoroughly. The Magic School Bus is an awesome cartoon to look back on to feel nostalgic about, but as an adult, there clearly isn't much to take away from it unless you want to have fun going down a rabbit hole of theories like I mentioned earlier. Or maybe now you have a kid and you're showing it to them for the first time. But let me know what you think about the Magic School Bus in the comments below. Did you grow up with the series? Did you read the books? Is the reboot/sequel series any good? You tell me. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. I'll be back soon with another video, but until then, later.